Everyone, we wanted to take a quick moment to thank all the listeners, the viewers, and of course the patrons out there. The team here at Vectorsigma hopes that we can bring a little levity and a distraction from the weight of the real world. Time is always precious, but that has become even more obvious now. We want to say that we really do appreciate everyone out there that's spending their time with us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Vectorsigma.info. Today I am sitting down with a top 4 competitor of the Alpha Trion Championship. How you doing today, Christian?
Yeah, not too bad, man.
That's good to hear. So, you wrapped up, I think, a couple days ago. So you've been in the top 4 for a few days. We were just waiting for our last competitor to get in the top 4 yesterday. But I wanted to make sure I sat down with everybody and talked to you guys and kind of get your ideas of how you approached the event and what you were expecting and things like that. So my question to you is, you decided to play a Horrible Shadow deck, which is Horrible and Sky Shadow. Why did you end up going with that deck?
So, the reason I went with the Horrible Sky Shuttle list was, I'd say a few days before the tournament started, I was in the middle of another tournament on Octagon. I'm sure some of you may have heard of it. It's called the Corona Cup, which is very fitting. It was this big Octagon tournament. It was one of the first tournaments for Wave 5 that I saw, and I came into that with another Horrible deck. It was quite a bit different. It was Horrible with Grox, Fangry Parsec, and Chrome Dome Kreb. And as I was playing through this tournament, I realized the other two characters are fine, but Horrible just put so much work. Like, Horrible carried the lineup completely, and I think it just kind of showed the power. I'm going to do like a deck profile and kind of talk about my experience in that tournament here in a little bit. Hopefully at least. But I found playing that deck, it's like, wow, Horrible is ridiculously strong, but I'm not sure if I really dig the other two partners. And so I was looking at some other ideas, and I saw some other people trying out Sky Shadow with Horrible, and I'm like, well, let's give this a shot. So when I was kind of planning for the tournament, I knew I wanted to play something with Horrible and like an orange-black aggro list, just because that was what I was most familiar with in the tournament, with what I've been playing in Wave 5 so far. And so I tested out against some friends on Octagon, and I'm like, wow, this is really good. This feels really good. So that was pretty much exactly how I came about with that list.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a strong list. You're not the only person to play with it. You're not the only person to top 8 with a list with these characters. So the deck is definitely looks like it's starting to be a legitimate threat in the metagame.
For sure.
So you decided on the list, but what were you expecting to see out of the other competitors?
So I expected a lot of Sky Shadow. That was another reason for me kind of choosing the deck and choosing Horrible. Was I knew Sky Shadow was going to be rearing his head like everywhere in this tournament. I predicted, so I wanted to make sure I had a lineup that could at least like deal with Sky Shadow out of combat, or at least like deal with one of his pieces like consistently well, so I could attempt to get big swings on the big guy before he got a chance to, and like steal attacks and all that.
Yeah.
I expected a lot of Sky Shadow. I expected mainly aggro as well. I figured there would be some blue lists or some mixed decks that would be popping up, but I figure coming into it that usually metas are pretty aggro heavy in the beginning, because it's what people are. It's easiest to figure that out early on, and usually like control decks don't like start popping up till like a legitimate aggro threat kind of shows up in the meta. So I didn't expect a whole lot of blue. I expected a lot of aggro, of course, because of that. And I also expected Perceptor, of course. Two most excited characters I think most people have been for this set. That's pretty much my big predictions, and I'd like to think I was fairly right.
I think there was between 7 and 9 Sky Shadow decks, and I think the slant from aggro to control was like 11 aggro decks, and then like 4 control decks, and then like 1 or 2 like oddly in betweens. So like, yeah, it was something like that. Like, so you're pretty much spot on.
Sure. Well, that's comforting.
Right. What did you play against in your round robin rounds?
Sure. So, first of all, shout out to my competitors. They were great. They were great. The play against super fun to people. Jihen, McCoy, and Jesse from Shuffle Bus.
Mm-hmm.
Great people to play against, of course. First round I played against Jihen, who was running Fortress Maximus.
Yeah.
Fortress Maximus was actually someone who a deck that I wouldn't have been surprised to see in my testing, but I was still surprised when I first saw him. Like, oh, it's Fortress Maximus. And I was actually kind of scared going in because I know just like Fortress Maximus, he just has this ability to just steal games out of nowhere just because he just does what he does, and sometimes he either does really well or sometimes he'll whiff. But
what was the set there? Was it 2-0 or 2-1?
it was a 2-1. Okay. I got him pretty well game one, and then he sided into Freeze Out for his third head, which gave him an extra tough 2 on Cerebros, and I couldn't deal with the Cerebros fast enough, and he did a really strong play against me in game two, which helped was I wasn't able to KO Fortress Maximus in the beginning, or on the first wheel, so he was able to kill one of my pieces of Sky Shadow with his Photon Bomb effect, and then go into my Sky Shadow. Yeah. So he was able to deal with them really quickly from there.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw that on stream. We saw the Cerebos with the freeze out. It was actually really, really strong. There was a couple turns where he was able to like turn in and heal like 4 or 5 damage and get safeguard back and stuff like that. So like it doesn't shock me that he's able to steal a couple games like that.
Yeah, I've been playing when I play on Octagon. That was pretty common to see with Fortress Maximus, people playing like these safeguard locks. I'm like, wow, this is rude. This is super rude.
Like, oh, this is a thing.
yeah, Cerebros really packs a punch on his own. It's surprising.
Yeah. What you playing round 2?
Round 2, I played against McCoy. He was running it was like a Perceptor kind of mixed list with Perceptor, Grax, Fangry, Fangry, Ominous, and Brawn. So it was like this control list that had a splash of like orange blacks to kind of focus on that Pierce. Mm-hmm. That was a really interesting match as well. I don't remember it as well as the other 2 matches. It was a late night for me, of course. But I do remember there were some close calls with like where he just flipped the wrong side of his deck at the wrong time, and I was able to steal a game 1 or game 2 with that way.
Yeah.
And just the bolt from Sky Shadow to Perceptor is really strong as well.
Yeah, if you're not prepared for it.
Yeah.
My biggest thing was his list was very interesting. I thought it was like kind of like this blue-black Pierce list, but not many people are utilizing the Ominous head outside of Sky Shadow. So I was really intrigued to see how that was going to do.
Yeah, I was a huge fan of that. I kind of like it a little bit more than Parsec. I think Parsec on Fangry has a little bit more like general usefulness, but I mean Ominous, when Fangry dies and up comes Parsec. Parsec, can be not so much of a threat, but Ominous, I mean, he's relevant when Fangry goes down as a bot. He can be really scary.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes 4 damage is 4 damage.
Yeah, exactly. How big they are steals games, right?
Yeah, sometimes. And in the last round, we did have you guys on stream. It was you versus Jesse from Shuffle Bus, and you can tell us a little bit about that.
Sure, that was a really cool match. I saw his match against Jihen before we played, like a day or 2 before our match. I was actually really nervous about going into that match because I haven't played against anything like that. Mm-hmm. In my testing with Horrible Fangry and like these big like Demolisher swings coming out of nowhere, I was kind of nervous about that. But I remember working, just kind of brainstorming like the night before, like how would I go about if I go first, like who would be like my good first turn attack, because both being aggro, that first attack can really make a difference depending on who I swing into. Overall, I think that game went really, really well. Especially for me, I just drew everything I kind of needed to that game.
Yeah, I remember in game 1 you basically stole the Demolisher attack, and I thought that was a really, really big play.
Yeah, well, it's crazy because being able to play Villainous Spotlight in that list, you run 8 double oranges.
Yeah.
And getting a first turn swing with a guy with Bolt 2, I mean, swinging for 8 to 10 isn't out of the question, you know?
Yeah, you're right. um, so with that, you with that win, you're on stream. I think that was Monday night. You had done that. You were the second member to gain their spot in the top four. The other member was Cameron. He was also playing a version of the Sky Shadow Horrible deck, and now, as of recording, you know that your other competitors are Jempty, who's playing a Perceptor Sky Shadow deck, and then Incredible Chuck, who is playing a little bit more interesting of a list. He's playing Perceptor, Sky Shadow Plane, and then Fangry with, I believe, the Parsec head on him.
Yeah.
So his list, it's more of like a transformative list where he starts like that, and then he has the option to board into the Sky Shadow sync and everything like that. I don't know if you've seen any gameplays. I think he was only on camera on that first night. I think he was actually in the first game of the tournament. So
Yeah, I think he played Sylvia Bear, who was playing Shockwave. I remember seeing that match.
Yeah. So what do you think about the other members of the top four?
Well, I guess first of all, Sky Shadow, it's pretty good, right?
All four competitors have it in their 50 card lists. So yes.
Yeah. I was thinking about this, and I'm really excited. I don't know who I would want to play against first, because they all have all those lists are like legitimate threats, right?
I mean, all four.
I really like.
All four of you guys were able to go 3-0 in your bracket. So I mean, you've all played well to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the margin for error is like so low now at this point, going into top 4.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Jumpty's Perceptor Sky Shadow list. It runs a lot of I don't want to use the term like niche secret actions, but like a lot of I almost want to call it like anti Sky Shadow secret actions, like the double reflect damage to set and keep with your like Spymaster's Ruse for when like a Sky Shadow combines, so you don't get bolted, but you get to bolt them instead. I think is super, super cool. And this, just in general, direct damage is even heavier in this format.
Yeah.
Than I see from wave 4. So I mean, it's super relevant to keep in main board, along with the take cover to kind of supplement those.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen any of Cameron's games too much.
Cameron was on. He was on stream once also. I think in a mirror match, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a Sky Shadow mirror, but it was like a 4-wide.
Oh yeah, it was Fred. It was the Night Racer and the Motomaster, right?
That's right. Yeah. Let's see, and then and again, I haven't seen too much of Chuck's list. I am really curious. I'm excited to see his match play out on stream. Because I'm curious to see I'm not sure if you know how often he would actually board into the Sky Shadow. Because it's kind of interesting, really, because you start off what's that?
Yeah, so he didn't do it in the first round, but he did it in both the second and third rounds. I know that.
Okay, interesting. I wonder what matchups you would want to do that against. Because you start off almost 5 wide on that, but you're able to board into a wider team.
Yeah, it's very interesting actually. I'm actually looking forward to talking to him about it.
Yeah, it's the first lineup that you can do that in this game, I believe.
We not me and Chuck, but we had talked about the idea that you could do that, but no one else had done it in the tournament other than him. So it was interesting to see that idea, that concept. It's unheard of to be able to go wider out of a sideboard. So it's very odd that he was able to do that and succeed doing that.
Yeah, for sure. I wonder what matchups that's better against than already just being just Sky Shadow already. Maybe against Horrible, you may not want to do that, but hard to say. I'm interested to hear him talk about it more.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I bet.
So I guess at this point now, what I'm really curious is, I'm just looking at your deck, and it's on the screen here so everyone else can see it. To me, do you think you had any kind of those niche cards you were talking about in Jempty's list? Do you think you had played any of those that you wanted to discuss? Like, like this one of hiding spot. Like, was that just like, hey, I want to have some protection for one of my Sky Shadow piece type things?
Yeah. So when I was playing the Octagon tournament, I had, I believe, one or two hiding spots main board,
Mm-hmm.
and I really really liked how it played, being able to like either hide horrible and make them swing into like oftentimes people would like load up on a character to try to take out horrible in one go. And I'd just be like, well, I'm gonna hide, and you're gonna have to go into like my head, right?
Yeah.
This happens over here, or other instances that came up. I believe in the tournament was hiding spot, like having both of my Sky Shadow pieces tap, but using a hiding spot on the healthier piece, so they have to go
Yep.
into the heavily damaged piece,
Yeah.
so I can combine with more health. I definitely am glad I ran it. I almost considered running a second one in the sideboard,
Mm-hmm.
but I think definitely looking at like Jumpy's list, I would have wished I played like a reflect damage either in the sideboard,
Mm-hmm.
or even in the main board. Honestly, I just think that's such a cool tech there. Um, let's see what else is there. Oh, there's definitely some things in my list that I'm not happy about.
Okay.
That main board reprocess, I have to say I'm not a huge fan of it.
I agree.
Yeah. And the funny part is I did the same thing in the Octagon tournament deck list. I'm like, I shouldn't do this again. But I did it again. I don't know why.
I
It
think
should have either been.
we became accustomed to it, and now it's not necessarily right all the time.
No, absolutely. Like in every game, it just goes out. Like, okay, well, I know what this is getting sideboarded out for. Like I think the main, because I considered disassemble, which would have been better
Yeah.
as like strict removal because of the black pit with horrible. But really, the main reason why I think I kept the reprocess was knowing that I may see a lot of these like orange black aggro lists, and a lot of them don't have like good draw engines.
Right.
They tend to rely on pocket processor. I wanted a way to reliably remove pocket processor, which this card can do. But it's also tough because like horrible wants you to constantly use direct damage, and orange black in general is kind of shaping to be this way, like this constant guaranteed either attack damage or direct damage and pressuring your opponent, or your process even like healing too. It can just be such a step backward at times.
Right. So I guess like my question strategy wise to you is that if you were to go into a mirror match and they just threw a pocket processor down, like would it just make you value that target more with horrible then? So like instead of like healing them to, you're just like, all right, well I'm just gonna like throw four at them this turn, and then they can draw a card from their pocket processor, but the next turn I'm gonna KO that character. So maybe that's just the way to think about how to play against pocket processor now.
Yeah, I was thinking of something similar to that, like especially like if they were close enough range where I can do that without sacrificing a lot of like my momentum.
Yeah.
uh, I think that's definitely a better way to go about it than like just reprocessing and letting them heal 2 damage, which could have been like 2 black cards worth of work, right?
Right.
But I think it also depends on like who they put it on. Like
Mm-hmm.
if they put it on like their Sky Shadow, obviously that's already like the big target. Like in the
Yeah.
mirror match, I'm not like as concerned
Yeah.
about the horrible. It's I want to get rid of their Sky Shadow before they can get rid of mine, type of deal.
Right. Right.
But I mean, if they put it on their horrible, it definitely makes me value it a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. Why the split between mounted missiles and even the score?
So I originally had excuse me, 2 mana missiles in there, and in my testing games, I never found any use for just having the second mana missiles, other than just the pips.
Mm-hmm.
Even one is nice if you have it. +2 is always nice in any spot on your armor list, but I never had the time to play 2, or if I drew 2, I was never like happy about it.
Okay.
So I figured if I'm just playing for the pips, I might as well have a little bit of like card diversity and play even the score. Especially because I'm already playing Hold the Line and Hiding Spot. I wanted a little bit of diversity in my secret actions as well.
Yeah.
Which is something I think I'm starting to value a little bit more in this wave. We're kind of looking into like wave 4. We have a lot of good secret actions, but I think like wave 5 here just presents a new breadth for secret actions that I think an aggro deck that plays a fair amount of secret actions can actually be a really interesting like way to combat other aggro decks. Is at least what I'm kind of testing here.
Yeah, the only downfall I see to the secret actions, specifically in the horrible decks, is the fact that it's not a black pip when you play it.
See, I thought about that, which is why I have the one Spymaster's Ruse,
Yeah,
because I can
yeah.
play Pip, right?
Yep, yep. For your sideboard, it looks pretty straightforward to me. The only thing I have, I guess, is the battlefield scan. Like, what were you afraid of that you felt you needed a battlefield scan?
So a lot of my testing and like random matches on Octagon, I played against a few Perceptor Sky Shadow lists, and a lot of them abuse like Brave and Stealth mechanics, like Bravery or Hiding Spot or Step Forward or anything that just use Stealth and Bravery. So I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to have like I figured it'd be nice to have like one out to be like, okay, if they're going to rely on Bravery or Stealth, I might as well just have one in the sideboard that I can repeatedly grab and also fling a damage over when you're playing it. I
Sure.
also wanted it for in case I saw Apex or Doomshot, mostly Apex in sideboards.
And to this point, did you see any of those things?
Absolutely not.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, so I was like, let me just check in on that.
Yeah, I didn't see any. I would probably see maybe more on if I played against a more control deck. That's just me just guessing though.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. I don't think there was a single Apex registered in the 16 competitors. I don't think there was any Bravery registered.
sure.
I'm trying to run through. There was a point position, so
I,
that was definitely registered. As far as that, I don't. There might have been Immerse in Shadows. I'm not sure.
sure.
So, but yeah, that was the one card that just popped out. Everything else looks pretty self-explanatory to me.
Yeah, I kind of figured that one looking at my sideboard. I was like, oh, they're gonna wonder about this battlefield scan. I know it, and that's
um,
mostly.
yeah, that's fair. Um, any additional thoughts you have on the tournament itself, and if there's anything you think that we could change to make it better?
So overall, I think this is a really, really great format that you guys have right now. I was a little skeptical of the round robin idea first because me and Matthew tried doing something similar just with like a group of friends, and it kind of fell apart just from like a schedule point of view. But it was nice that everyone was just super on board with it already, and that everyone, competitors and the judges and all just cooperated really, really well with time frames. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that could definitely like I guess be improved. I mean, there's always like there's always those technical blips that like you could say like, oh, maybe like better technical
Mm-hmm.
something or whatever, but those just happen, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you can say maybe do better, but they're gonna happen no matter what, and you already know like I'm sure you're already doing things to make the next tournament smoother that I don't have to say like, oh, do this better. I just don't have to mention it.
that's fair. I will say that the round robin thing, we thought halfway through the event was going to blow up in our face, so we kind of got lucky that it didn't.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I think it went really well.
so yeah, but we are. I don't think when like in our next one, I don't believe we're not going to do a round robin anymore. So
Sure.
we have a new contingent plan for that one.
Any spoilers to what that might look like? Is it gonna be like a Swiss type of thing?
Yeah, I think we're just gonna run a straight Swiss. But for anyone listening, I'll probably mention in all four of these. But the next one will definitely be a limited event with once we can finally get packs in our hands.
Sure.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. These are my first webcam games, and I've been very happy with how they turned out.
Cool. Well, I wanted to thank you for coming on. I wanted to thank you for playing in the event, and I wanted to wish you good luck in the top 4.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for hosting.
Yeah, man. All right, good luck, man, and we'll see you on stream probably in the top 4.
Yes.
All right, see you later, man.
Adios.